Oh, hello. Just been reading the 2024 Release Wave 2 plan. There's a lot of exciting stuff. Hope you enjoy this episode of the Power Platform Boost podcast, where Alika and I are going to talk through some of our favorite things that we've seen in this particular wave's release plan. Check it out.
Welcome, everyone, to the Power Platform Boost podcast, your weekly source of news and updates from the world of the Power Platform and the Microsoft community, with your host, Nick Dolman and Ulrika Akabek.
Hello, everyone. Hi, Nick. How are you?
Good. It is Release Wave Day.
It is Release Wave Day. You guys get a bonus episode because the release waves came out the week after we have our regular scheduled episodes. So this is a summer bonus so you can enjoy while lying on the beach and getting tanned and drinking wine on late summer night. No, don't do that. Just save it for when you're back to work.
Yep. So this is the document we're looking at, which is probably going to be close to the final one, is like 100 pages. The cover is a guy in a lab coat pointing to his laptop, which is probably one of the brand new Copilot enabled laptops. And he's probably showing off to his friends, hey, check out my new laptop. So.
Yeah, and it's probably AI created. It's created by some AI engine, probably.
Exactly.
I wonder how many percent of this document that we're reading through that is AI generated and how much is actually written by human beings.
Probably. So what do we do? We should just get AI to generate this whole podcast for us and then go to the beach.
Why are we even here? Oh, we could just put in a transcript. Ulrika said this, blah, 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 Nick said this, blah, 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 and then you can use our voices to put the thing together.
Exactly.
Oh, why didn't we think of that sooner? Well, next time.
Laughs at all this. Time. Yes. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Right. So the jokes and everything. Okay. So we're going to do this my way because that's the only way. And that's the way it is with everything. Have you now this time around made sure to notice when the PP public preview or GA dates are, Nick?
Yes. And for the most part, I would say 80% of the time it's public preview in July and GA in October. That's not for everything, but that's for most things that I've noticed.
Right. So you're choosing the stuff that we already know about and not the new stuff that is actually new.
Oh, no, there's new stuff here as well. It's all good. And some of it's like August is next month. So we don't even see it yet.
Right. So just by you telling me that, I know that we've chosen different things. So we went through the whole document and for each of the major products in the platform and we've chosen our favorites and we're going to go through them as they are listed in the document. And of course, if there's some of these that now we're pre-recording that doesn't get that as cut before the release, we have to edit it out. So it's always very exciting for Nick, the few minutes after the release waves are published, going through the 100 pages again to make sure that the things that we talked about is actually in the final release wave. So very exciting to be an MVP, you guys. Very exciting.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's start off with Power Apps. So first of all, in the document, when they're entering into a new product area, they're writing about their key investments. So for Power Apps, it's Copilot for makers and users. And to be fair, that's the first one for each and every one of the products. It's Copilot for everyone. And then it's enhancements to building modern apps using simplified and responsive layouts and collaboration capabilities for users, and also modernized interface. And also an enabling of enterprise scale is one of the topics as well. So the studio will receive updates in terms of monitoring and code management tools, etc. So a lot of exciting news. You want to go first to talk about your favorite feature?
Sure. So, I mean, there's a lot of features there that some of this we've already talked about, like, collaboration in real time and Canvas apps. We had that in Power Pages for a while already. A lot about the selecting columns downloaded on mobile devices. I mean, again, that's one of the capabilities. They want it to be modern controls, responsive, offline by default. So this kind of goes along with those themes about being able to make your offline capabilities a little bit more cleaner and smoother. An interesting little thing that I saw that kind of struck out to me is select records faster with the lookup control. So this is always, I know it's a little thing, but it's always been a bit of a bone of contention over the last couple of years in model-driven apps, the lookup control. They made some changes a few years ago. Like when you used to look up, it used to kind of show you, the ability to select records. They changed that a little bit. It was a drop down, and then all of a sudden you didn't see stuff. Where did it go? We had to press the enter key. It really wasn't all that intuitive, but I think a lot of people using model-driven apps have gotten used to it now, and you can configure that of what you can see. But here it looks like not only can you press enter, but you press enter twice, and that will grab that record and populate your lookup based on the first thing that showed up. So hopefully they've made that a little bit smoother. I know, like I said, it's a small thing, but it's one of these things that can really annoy people, and people get passionate about silly things. Well, I wouldn't say silly things, but things like this. So that stood out to me. The other thing that stood out to me.
The other thing?
Oh, sorry.
What other thing? Now, come on. We have strict rules here. There is a system. We have a format. You don't get to say another thing because you're going to say the thing that I'm going to say.
Okay, well, here's the baton. I'm handing it off to you now.
But just a quick question. So when is this going to be released, Nick?
This about the lookup control. The early access is July 2024, with general availability being October 2024. We had this whole big thing about when are the dates? So,
of course, because people are curious. They want to play with the new shiny thing. And then it's not available until later. But now this is something you can actually play with as of this month. So excited to see that popping up in your environment, and an environment near you any day now. Okay, I also have one for building modern apps, and it's the view and act on your data more efficiently with the new grid features.
Yes.
And this is kind of in the same line as what you're talking about. It seems small and very unassuming, but now you'll be able to group and aggregate you can group. So you have let me step back. So model-driven apps, you have lists or views, and you have your columns and you have your rows. And now you'll be able to group by a single column, and you will also be able to aggregate one or more numeric columns. And that is another thing than calculated columns, I guess. So there's a new kind of capability that comes in that allows you to aggregate one or more numeric columns. And I think this is going to be similar to what we have in DevOps, for instance, because you have you have a feature and then you have tasks, and you're able to aggregate the tasks to the feature level to see how much effort, for instance. I read that as something along those lines. Column reordering, the drag and drop, move left to right in terms of column reordering. You get updated styling for list mode, which is more in line with Fluent styling. You'll also be able to sort in list mode, because now you have to go into the filter, refine, and set your sorting. Now you'll be able to sort by clicking the header. That is the kind of user experience that we're used to from every single other application out there. So that's good. And also command bar for nested grids. So this is a feature that will be GA in October. And early access in July. So this is same as the lookup column control.
Did you also notice that in terms of the aggregation? So let's say you do an aggregation on accounts or something, you'd be able to get a sum of those numeric fields at the bottom of your view, which is pretty cool.
Oh, I didn't see that. That slipped my attention. Very good. Smart. All right. So now you get to say your second one. Did you have a second one for Power Apps?
The other thing, well, not actually for Power Apps in general. I was just kind of quickly going through the list. We talked about the grids, source code for Canvas apps, of course, YAML. We talked about it in our last episode. And our good friend Daniel told me that the YAML is very Copilot friendly. So that's why the big deal about YAML is with the Power Apps. Just a little side note. One thing I noticed, delegation for update if and remove if. Delegation, if you're working in Canvas apps, is the bane of my existence working with Dataverse because you can only access 500 to 1,000 records. So this, again, they're trying to make delegation more better. Again, that was actually even announced last June for public preview. So some of that's there already with GA of October. And yeah, so one of the other things, we talked about collaboration already. Where was I going with this? Oh yeah, the other thing that I saw, which was kind of interesting, and this is a little bit of, you see the evolution, because we talked about in our episode about this things going away and going into the old settings feature within Power Apps, like model-driven apps. It does look like they have something called the Power Platform Environment Settings app, which looks like they've now created an app, but initially it looks like it's pointing to all the old things. So again, it's just maybe
like I framed the old admin into the new one. It's like, okay, well, and then this is going to transition over time, but I mean, come on, just give that a little makeup.
Yeah, so it's just sort of like it's they're working on it. So I did see that, and then so that would be my next thing, is this Power Platform Environment Settings app. It's just it's new, but it's not. Yeah.
And with that also comes the ability to hide the legacy app for admins. So first of all, you get a new app, so a model-driven app that you choose in your app navigation, so that you don't have to go into the advanced settings to get to it. But it's exactly the same user experience. It's horrible. And then now you have the ability to hide the legacy app for admins. So then you can hide the old experience altogether. So actually what it does is it's just a new way to get to the old experience, pretty much. And it kind of makes me wonder, well, what about that thing is so hard to modernize? What could it possibly be to make them do that?
I think it's one of those things. It just works. There's no one complaining about it. Complaining like the aesthetic. Well,
give a junior developer a summer project to make that look better. Come on.
All right.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's hard. I think it's a case of resources, but that's just me. Anyways, I hear what you're saying. So moving on, are we ready to move into this thing called Copilot for Power Apps makers and users? Anything in there that jumped out?
Nope.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's not that it didn't jump out. It's the same. It's the evolution of everything, right? They're putting in Copilots now. It's going to be in galleries, so you can use natural language for searching, and that type of thing. So again, it's just, I mean, I think we've seen the big wave of Copilots, and now we're in the let's make it better phase and enhancing everything like that. Definitely AI is still obviously a big thing.
Absolutely.
But it's just in terms of it being new, it's not so much new anymore. It's just now getting better.
And we could just say this now, for all of the products, there's a Copilot section, and all the Copilot news is that it's getting better. And so, it's kind of the same thing for every one of the products, really. Let's dive into Power Pages instead. Much more fun. Unless you had more.
No. I think we covered we covered everything that's more or less there. There was before we jump in, there was a little bit something on managing source code for Canvas apps. We don't need the PAC CLI to convert the MPPP file. So again, I think that's another thing. There wasn't a ton on ALM, but I think there's already a lot of ALM announcements at Build. So that's a whole other thing to keep an eye on in the Power Platform in general, about the whole ALM story getting better. So there's not a lot in the release plan about that, but I think that's just another thing. So yes, Power Pages.
But this is something we talked about in the last episode and episode before that as well. This is public preview in July, so right now, and it's GA in October. And it's so the new capabilities they talk to. You can store the files as, in code repositories. You can automate generation of Canvas apps. It's what it says. Refactor Canvas apps without using the designer, and also the native Git integration with for Power Platform. So it's definitely worth mentioning, but it's also a bit of old news because we've talked about this 2 times already. Not not towards you or anything, but it's in terms of release wave at this level. I would expect it to be news and not necessarily just stuff that's coming out that we already know about. But that's another soapbox that I'm not gonna go into.
Yeah. But Power Pages got stuff.
Well, some stuff. Oh, is this how it's going to be? You're going to be the positive one that go through everything and get super excited, and I'm going to be the... So you play... I play Megan, you play Lisa this time.
Okay, fair enough.
Right, so for Power Pages, the major investment areas are generative AI, which is also not new, that you can create your Power Pages site using a Copilot. You can also edit it and set your theme and everything. Data connectivity, also not new, but improved. You can now connect to and use virtual tables with Power Pages. Collaboration with low-code and pro-code dev tools. We talked about shiny new dev tools for Power Pages in our previous episode, so check that out. And Nick made a video and a blog post about it. So if you are a pro dev with Power Pages, definitely check that out. And there's also something in terms of security and governance for Power Pages. Is there anything that jumped out at you that you want to mention first?
Yeah, a couple things. Well, first off, we did talk about before Power Effects and Power Pages. That looks like it's getting enhanced with the generate and explain formulas. So that exists in Canvas apps today. So that's just a natural extension into Power Pages. Be able to use web Power Effects and web templates components. Now, this actually, what did catch my eye, and this is up to interpretation, so I might be misinterpreted it. It said availability in Design Studio for web template components. Now, this is something that I have been on the product team's case for a while about web template components. First off, it seemed like they kind of went hard, delivered something, and then hasn't touched it since. So I'm happy to see that that's getting a little bit of love. The second thing is, up until now, to use web template as components today, you still need to add them via code. You need to actually go and add that liquid snippet directly to the code in Visual Studio or whatever, however you manage your code within the Power Pages. Now, by saying availability in Design Studio for web template components, I'm really, really hoping to see a little button that I can begin to add my web template components. So that might be more of a wish list, but maybe just me interpreting that sentence a certain way. But anyways, that's what kind of got me excited. Like, they're going to give some more attention to web template as components, which I think is very important. I think could be incredibly powerful if they just kept it in the oven for a few minutes longer to completely finish it up.
Yeah. And I read through it, and it actually says support for adding through the designer experience. And maybe this is the reason why they haven't touched it, right? Because they saw that it was half-baked, and instead of trying to fix it, they just waited for this. Unfortunately, it's public preview in October. And we know from experience that when something is not GA, when there's no GA date, first of all, in the release notes. So this is something in general as well, just to kind of level set you guys a bit. If there is no GA date in the release notes, please take it with a pinch of salt. If it's going to put a pin in it, it's not always then that it's realized. Then it's usually pushed if something else and more important comes along. So this is a public preview in October. Also, if the public preview or the GA date is very late, so in March, for instance, then also that's not something to jump and dance too much about, because maybe it falls out. So we're hopeful, and definitely this is overdue in my book. But yeah, if we can get this live and kicking in October for a public preview, that would be awesome.
Yes.
So You already touched on the generation and explanation of PowerFX formulas using Copilot. That's very good. And also I saw that you can now set up, and this is also a blast from the past, set up Microsoft Entra External ID with a wizard. Now, for those of you who haven't worked a lot with Power Pages, we had with the previous Power Pages version, before it became Power Pages, Power Apps portals had a wizard where you could go through the wizard step by step and set up your authentication with using Azure AD B2C as an identity provider, and it would set that tenant up for you in Azure behind the scenes without you ever having to touch Azure. It became Power Pages, and that wizard went away, and you can't use it now with the new Power Pages site. And now they're introducing Microsoft Entra External ID wizard for Power Pages. It is not the same as Azure AD B2C. It's an evolvement of Azure AD B2C, but Azure AD B2C is not going away. So it is kind of the same that we had that went away, but new with something else.
Yes.
Yep. Yes. And also, this makes me a bit sad, and is a kind of I just wanted to mention it, of course. The experience enhanced file upload for Power Pages site. Is also a new thing. We get a drag and drop component for Power Pages that allows us to upload files using the camera. They also increase the storage limits also for SharePoint files. So now you can upload bigger files. It will scan for malware.
That's big.
And that is very big. And this is one of those things where we know how big this is, but in the release notes, reading through this, I would have never caught this if I didn't know how big this is. So, and it's also going to be available through the Design Studio. Now, we've seen a lot of conversations about scanning for malware in relation to Power Pages the last couple of weeks. So this is going to be a huge thing. And also in our previous episode, we mentioned someone making a PCF component and putting it up on PCF galleries that actually does this, but had security implications. So I'm excited to see how Microsoft decided to solve this. And of course, they will have followed best practices, and it would be watertight. And to see how much that differs from what the community created just a couple of weeks ago. So that's going to be exciting. So I can tell that you have an itch to talk about malware scanning. Malware.
No, I was just agreeing with you, because that is something that constantly comes up in forums or even talking to customers about file uploading. About, what does it scan for viruses, or how can we get it, and what happens if there's a virus in the files, and this. So again, I'm glad they're addressing it. The other thing, again, which caught my eye here, was to configure file upload to SharePoint in the Design Studio. So if we had to do file uploads on SharePoint before, we actually had to enable it on the model-driven app side in the forms. Do some site settings and some magic there, grid configuration, and then it would surface. So the Design Studio had no bearing on any of this. The fact that it's there now, whether it's just an enhancement of what already exists in the forms, they're just giving what they're doing a lot of times in the forms, being able to do a lot of that metadata on the front side. That might be what it's at. But again, it's just keeping people more in the Design Studio. Again, they're not going to get rid of the Power Pages management app. They can't for at least another 4 or 5 years, if I was to take a guess, because there's so many things in there. I was actually helping someone else in the community the other day on validations and discover and kind of pointing out, they're trying to do some regex validations, and what's existing in the basic form metadata is just 10 years ahead of what's being done in the Design Studio. And it actually works through the management app. So anyways, all that circling back to the SharePoint thing, interesting to see how they implement that. Again, looks like it's going to be GA December.
Yes.
So
good.
That's a bold statement, but yeah, cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And also to see the conversations that we've seen around the malware stuff as well is more of a surprise that there's no malware scanning for Dataverse already. So it's kind of high time that this comes around. And also, just for transparency's sake, there's a lot of AI features coming to the new community template for Power Pages, and I know that they're in the process of making some changes to the existing community sites that we're all using. I was on a call a couple of weeks ago about that. So interesting to see. Maybe we can be the end users of these new AI features pretty soon. That's going to be awesome.
Like just take Power Pages out of the equation for a second. The fact you can do an AI thread summary in the community template. I mean, how many times have we gone to a search to, Google search to fix an error or something, and then your only option is to go to one of the community sites, and then there's a thread of like 5,000 messages of, well, here's my problem. Oh, do this, try this, do this. Okay, I tried that. Oh, it didn't work. Oh, do this. Oh, you can't do it this way because of this. And you got to scroll through multiple pages till you finally find maybe the answer there. So if I can see a summary of all of that stuff, that's just going to be amazing. So those are the things that kind of popped out for me, like using AI for good, just making this mess of information and giving it to me in a package that I can consume. So, and it's cool that they're refocusing on the templates, because for a while there, it looked like the templates, and I know you're a big fan of templates. I know that they kind of got put on the shelf for a while. So it's good to see that they're focusing on that again, because I think some of these really could accelerate a lot of projects and get a lot of things going pretty quickly. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally agree. So do you want to move over to Power Automate?
Yeah, because I think we power paged that. So
perfect.
Yeah. So again, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, just doing the summary, what to expect. The major investments are, yeah, it's kind of weird because this reads to me a bit different than the actual updates that we're getting, but we'll get to that in a minute. So you'll get an easier experience to build, troubleshoot, and manage automations, and that has to do with Copilot, of course, ensuring scalability and privacy. It's an enhancement in terms of governance and privacy controls. Higher scale for process mining. So process intelligence capabilities in Power Automate is going to be way better with Microsoft 365 graph-based recommendations, for instance, and new ways of automations. And this is a big one, and I can't wait to talk about it because this is so cool. And of course, now we say Power Automate. And most of us in the community working in Power Platform, we know that as cloud flows. But keep in mind that Power Automate now, of course, also includes desktop flows, the RPA flows. Copilot for Power Automate is one area. Process mining, cloud flows that we already know. And now the new shiny AI flows. Okay.
Yeah.
So, you talk about your thing first, because mine is AI flows.
Okay, so I can't talk about AI flows. That's fine.
No, you can't. Yeah. Of course you can.
No, because I am looking forward to that, because I already have a few ideas. There's a few things that I do on a daily basis, which I'm like, okay, I should create a Power Automate for this, but I need to figure out the APIs, and I need to figure out this and this and the other thing. If I can just use generative AI and figure that out, that's what I'm excited about. But I'll let you talk about that. One thing I did notice, Cloudflow's integration with this thing called Excel. So of course, people use Microsoft Excel for everything. It's I would say one of the most used pieces of software in the world. So now you're going to be able to have within Excel this Power Automate tab. So if you're doing a lot of work in Excel, which I think we all are at some for various things, even thinking of my powerlifting coach, Chris, he uses Excel, not greatly, but he uses Excel and does for all the powerlifting programming and everything. And I know that he's had some help over the years of people writing macros and whatever, but this could be very valuable to him to be able to automate and to do a lot of that work he does. Cause I know he does a lot of cutting and pasting. He's not the most technical guy. I love you, Chris, but you know, it's true. So, something like this looks pretty exciting. So it's taking what we know as Power Automate and applying it to Excel, which I think is just going to increase productivity. And of course, that also means more Excel spreadsheets where people should be using maybe Power Apps, but that's a whole other conversation there. So that's something I got pretty,
Maybe
I
it's a
thought, oh, that's
gateway.
pretty cool. Yeah, a gateway.
Yeah.
Exactly. I like it. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. And that's GA December. So this
Yeah.
may be, this is probably something that we'll see pretty soon. Right. So before I talk about AI flow, I just also wanted to mention that you can now run an AI flow for more than 30 days. This is something that I just wanted to mention because it's a showstopper for a lot of use cases, and it's public preview from October. So for those of you who are kind of stopped dead in your tracks because you can't get any further because of that limitation, now you'll be able to do that. And it didn't say anything more specific about what it will now be, because they have to put that threshold in there somewhere. But it did not say that in the release notes. So we'll just have to wait and see what that means.
Exactly.
So AI flows. This was what was shown at Build, and we talked about this in one of the previous episodes where I showed you, or I talked about seeing someone giving a generative AI instructions describing the objective of your process. So what is it that you want to achieve? That's what you tell the AI. And then a large language model puts together a plan that is kind of the process turned into technology. So it interprets what you're saying and it gives you a suggestion. Okay, so this is what you want to achieve. These are the steps and the actions and the triggers that we would need to make that happen. And then you can run it, and you can preview it and test it, of course. And then you can also go in and look after the flow is run to see what it did. So what did it trigger on? What kind of reasoning did it do while it was running? What resources did it use? And how did it get to the result that it got in the end? And you can also give it feedback and say, no, this is not right. You need to use this resource instead of that. And you can teach it how to go further. And also you can kind of review the whole run history going back in time and see, okay, what is it that it fails the most at? Where is the weak points? Where is the bottlenecks? Where do we need to give it more feedback or maybe better resources to get its job done? And it's also supposed to then teach itself based on its own runs how to be better going forward. So this is AI flows. It says public preview in August. That means that we will now soon be able to play with it. I actually registered to be part of the early access, early private preview part, but I didn't get in. So that tells you something about how much interest it is in this new piece of functionality. And it says GA in February 2025. This is a big deal. This is going to revolutionize the way that we look at on flows in general and flows in general and processes overall. My head can't really wrap itself around how big this is.
It's kind of like a screen recorder, but on steroids kind of thing, almost.
It is, yeah. I got that feeling as well when we looked at it. It is kind of desktop flows and AI builder and cloud flows all in one, in a way. And it blew my mind to see it. So we'll put link in the show notes as well here back to the build video where you can actually see this in action. And I was at Microsoft mid-June, right after EPPC. And I think they also showed something at EPPC about this where Microsoft in Norway, where Frederick demoed this. It blows your mind for what this can actually do. And of course, it's early days, and it will probably be a bit thin when it comes out. But this is, be patient with this, and this is going to change our world.
Yeah, we're truly living in a paradigm shift with all of this stuff coming. And and as much as we joke about Copilot, there's still things that I'm seeing here that is just sort of like, okay, because immediately if you can jump to a something that you're doing today that you can apply this to. And I have a couple things in my head already. Like every month if I do my billing, I do a lot of manual processing. It's one of those, yes, I should automate this, but I'm just going to do it and I'll worry about it later. When I have time, I'll automate it. Like it's going to the forest, not sharpening your saw because you're too busy cutting down trees kind of thing. So now I have a use case. So I'm keen to see it. And then also things with Power Automate, something again, using generative AI to achieve, to document, to create a description of what your flow is. That's pretty cool as well, because everybody, not a big fan of doing documentation sometimes. Now we can just sort of get AI to generate our documentation for us, how the flow works and everything like that. Also ties into a little bit of process mining as well. Some of the stuff going on there. There wasn't a ton of yes, process mining is there. It's already something, but they talked about having a thin client app now as opposed to the full client app to be able to, again, work better with the process mining, making that more efficient.
Just you don't have to download the model anymore, so it's going to be a little more lightweight.
Yeah.
And you can use you have also something that I saw was it's a bit repetitive, but you get a new automation center, which is really cool. With the Copilot, of course, they can analyze and kind of give you a bit of insights into both your desktop flows, your cloud flows, and also work queue.
Yeah. So it's a case like these things are good because there's sometimes we build something, we build a flow or a workflow or build something and it works. We're happy, client's happy, but was it the best way? Is it the most efficient way? And then all of a sudden we could run into performance issues or we're using too many API calls or something like this. With all these little analysis features, this hopefully will help us identify and maybe begin to write more efficient flows and things as well. So there's a whole bunch of different analyze line items here, like analyze desktop flows, analyze work queues. So yeah, this is, again, we're embracing this AI to not only help us write these things, but also make sure they get written efficiently and kind of following best practices as well. So exciting times.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Do you ever get that? Because sometimes I'm a bit starstruck by, or just struck by, we're living and breathing. We're seeing this from its infancy into one of the fastest growing technologies of all time. And we're in the midst of it, kind of, looking at this as it grows. It's going to be, this is a time for history books. And sometimes it just strikes me that, you have to stop and look at it and think, wow, we're so, fortunate and so privileged to actually be living and breathing this as it happens.
Yeah, like I know we joked the other day that I was there for the go live of the internet kind of thing, but I think back, I remember like being in school, and now I'm really showing my age, but I remember we got internet connection into our library. I think it was in my second year of college, and I remember the internet had been around, but it wasn't mainstream. It wasn't in people's homes. You couldn't, like, at that time, they had just started. Internet service providers had just started appearing where you could get dial-up and internet access. We had it in our school, and it just blew me away. Like, here I could look up things. I could find out information from the other side of the world. I could have a chat with somebody on the other side of the world, like, just typing and whatever. And now it's just sort of like, my internet's slow on my phone, I'm grumbling about it. It's just like you and I, we're doing a podcast. You are on the other side of the ocean. There's a 6-hour difference between us. So now we're living in something now with this AI technology. We're going through a transitive period that's just going to be life changing. And hopefully in a very positive way, because despite the faults of the internet, it was a very positive thing, that we can do all these things now. We can maintain friendships, around the world. I'm hoping AI is sort of that same impact and not the doom and gloom, which some people say. Again, like everything, it's like fire, right? Fire is a great tool, but you could get burnt. So yeah, that's my little philosophical AI.
And it's probably going to be both. All of these big inventions, they're always both. You can't have one without the other. If you have a new tool, like you said, just with fire, right? Someone's going to use it for evil. It's not getting around it. So yeah, I'm excited to see where this brings us.
And speaking of AI.
And speaking of AI, next one on the list is Copilot Studio. And the 2024 release Wave 2 brings native capabilities for extending Microsoft Copilots. So I feel like there's a centralization going on where now you have one-stop shop for everything Copilot in Microsoft, and that would be Copilot Studio. IVR with support for conjunction with Dynamics customer service. So that's voice support for Copilots. General availability of generative actions, geo expansion. Oh, there's in Germany. ALM capabilities, topic level import and export, and role-based access control. And also a lot of improvements in terms of governance and administration. And a more granular AI management control. So,
and uploading images, which I thought was kind of neat. I mean, that exists in the newest version of ChatGPT today. For example, like I did a talk, I think at Dynamics Con, and I took a picture. Like I like to take picture of like a selfie of the people that are attending my my session. And then our friend George Dubinsky said, "Oh, run that picture through ChatGPT 4.0 and get it to count how many people are in the room." And it did. I threw it in there, and boom, there are 30 something people in the room. Break it down by gender. Like 15 female, 16 males, kind of thing. It just sort of like wow. So. But that's on the newest version. Here's the funny part. This is on the newest version of ChatGPT. We had, as you know, we're kind of doing some renovations around the house. We had a whole pile of bricks that we dug up from our own walkway that we're giving away. We posted it on the Facebook, I think, giveaway thing or whatever. If anybody's looking for bricks, they're all gone. Sorry. But anyways, I said, well, my wife is saying, I have to count how many bricks, to post it. And I'm like, oh, take a picture and put it through ChatGPT. But she didn't realize she needed the newest version. So she put it on ChatGPT 3.5 or whatever. It came back saying, oh, I can't do that. But maybe if you count the bricks and tell me what it is, I can help you out.
Well, see, it sees its own limitations. That's good, though.
Yeah. So this is the thing. If you need to count bricks, use the newest version. But anyways, going back to like we're off of the rails in 10 different directions.
This is going to be a long one, you guys.
It always, anyways. These release note ones are always long ones, so they're used to it. And Daniel got through our last episode already, so he had a long drive. Really? Oh yeah, I got a text.
Wow!
I said long drive, and he goes, "Yep."
Yeah, it's gonna have to check in every time now. It's gonna be a thing. All right, so let's dive into the different. So it is divided into sections as well. So we have Copilot and AI innovation. We have speech and IVR for Copilot news. So first up, do you have a favorite? Have you picked something you want to highlight?
It was the image. It was the image one that. So I talked about that already. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So you can get insights into how your copilots are performing. You get responses based on uploaded images, as that's what you talked about. That is public preview in November. And also you can now add suggested prompts to custom copilots. So you know that thing when you use a Copilot in your Power Pages Designer or in your Canvas App Designer on the right side, and you have that little star thingy that you can click on that gives you suggestions to what kind of prompts you can use. Now, when you create your own Copilot, you're able to actually add those yourself. So you can add those pre-built prompts to your custom Copilot. But the thing that I wanted to talk about, because for some strange reason, I am super, super duper excited and have zero knowledge about speech and AI. And I've been seeing this for so far away. I think maybe 5 or 6 years ago that I caught an interest in speech UX, so user experience in terms of speech, because it fascinates me and it frustrates the bejesus out of me. I have Google Home here and it's complete rubbish. And it's because of the user interface, because you can't see the possibilities. Visual user interfaces allows you always to see what it affords. We call it affordance. What does this interface afford? You see buttons, you're inclined to click on it. You see a lever, you're inclined to pull it. But with speech, without that visual interface, how do you know what you can do with it? So that's always fascinated me. And also, so then when stuff on speech comes up, and especially at stuff like build and in the release notes, that always catch my attention, because I'm very excited to see what people do with it, because it's so cool. So this news is about that you can use IVR with omnichannel for customer service. Now, we've seen a demo of what this can look like, and it is absolutely fantastic. Now you can actually just, and it's not like back in the day when you had the phone service. You called your electrician provider, says blah, 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 say yes, say what you want, da, 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 and it doesn't work. This is intelligent native voice integration that understands what you're saying and also is able to reply to you with voice. So it's text, it's voice to text and text to voice in real time. And it's supposed to then act as the first line worker in a customer service scenario, where it can actually then allow you to speak to a service provider or customer service person that is actually a bot. It has a lot of new capabilities that I understand nothing about. But for instance, the silence detection for prompts, including retries and reprompts, and that you can configure actions for non-response, for instance. And barge in control for determining whether a bot can be interrupted or not, right? So there's a lot of new things here that if you're into text-to-speech and speech-to-text, that you should look into. And I know that there's so much happening in this space, especially on the Azure side. It's just mind-boggling. So if you're into that, keep an eye on this.
Yep.
Perfect. Yep.
Yep. Yeah. Seen some demos that are amazing. So yeah, lots of videos out there already, but just this again, paradigm shifting stuff. Shifting into
completely wild
AI Builder.
Yeah. You want to talk about the key investment areas and highlights?
Absolutely. Certainly, as they would say. So basically, insights. No, I'm still in Copilot. I hit it here 2 seconds ago.
Okay, I have it in front of me. Let me do it.
Oh,
it's fine.
Okay, no, I got it.
Okay.
So, basically, generative AI prompts, creating advanced AI actions used across Copilots. Built-in Power Apps, flows, AI prompts, large language models investment, grounding data sources, unstructured data, multimodal inputs, meaning like documents and images, all that kind of cool stuff that we talked about before. And extending the output possibilities. So not just in a chat window, but in his documents and in his cards and that kind of thing. A prompt catalog, and of course, governance. I mean, governance is like a common theme across the whole shebang. Because, people would be building all of these applications and bots and pages and all this stuff that needs to be, maintained and controlled. So that's sort of the investment areas, and then also into prompt builder, as well, which is that new interface to allow you to build all these AI prompts as well. So
yeah, we talked about that in a previous episode as well, the prompt builder. I think that was also released in the last release notes, if I'm not mistaken. And this is kind of huge as well. You can create a prompt and you can use it across multiple Power Platform products to invoke generative AI capabilities in every process solution that you're building. So this goes across Copilot, apps, Power Automate flows, Dataverse tables, solution-aware components that can be triggered with PowerFX expressions. So this is really powerful, the prompt builder and the prompts that you can then create and use and deploy through to your downstream environments and trigger with Power effects. So this is definitely something to watch.
Yeah, and the other cool thing is, guess this jumped out at me, because this is something with AI Builder. Because anytime you want to use AI Builder, you got to set up a trial and you could try it out, try a few things. But you saw this too. I could just see you're excited.
Yes.
You could use AI Builder with a developer plan, finally. So every month you get 20,000 credits, which no one really knows the math on how that works, but you can actually try all this AI Builder stuff in your developer environments. And I'm a huge fan of the developer environments and the developer plan. I can demo pretty much everything in this, and now we can do the AI Builder stuff there. So if you need to demo AI Builder or try it out or convince a client, because it's a bit of from a licensing perspective, it is a bit of an ask originally to get to people to think about AI Builder. So now we can start building more proof of concepts, and it's just more accessible to the community. So that's exciting news.
That's very exciting. Absolutely. And there's September,
it's a public preview in September with GA in October. So right around the corner.
Yeah, pretty soon, actually. There's another few announcements, but nothing too big with from what I could tell, actually.
Yeah.
Something else that jumped out at you. I saw you can author power cards with GPT prompts. So power cards is visual components that are AI powered that you can add your dynamic content to, and that are grounded in GPT responses. So that's, I'm not sure if that's new. I don't remember seeing it anywhere else. Power cards. But
Power Cards is new. It's another interface, kind of the lightweight interface you can tie into Teams or other chatbots kind of thing. But I'm not an expert in it. I know I looked a little bit into it. So Power Cards isn't new. I think getting this into AI Builder is probably the new enhancements are happening there. So I'm sure by saying that, Daniel's going to start texting me going, oh, power cards are cool. Check this out. Look what I can do. Do. Like, usually if I kind of stumble on something, he calls me out on it. So anyways.
Yeah. Let's see what Daniel comes up with, and then we can share it in the next regular episode.
So our last big section is Dataverse, or was there something else in AI Builder that you wanted to talk about first?
Nope. I'm good.
All right. So Dataverse, of course, is to me the heart and soul of the Power Platform. And, anytime we kind of get to that, there's, what are the investments here? There's a lot of stuff that's, forgotten in Dataverse. But it looks like more and more, a lot of things in terms of integration. The document we have talks a lot about the management of the Copilot Studio plugins, which is sitting in the Dataverse section. So I'm just wondering if that's just a bit of a misalignment or if it truly is a Dataverse thing. But we also talk about the Knowledge Center powered by Dataverse. I'm not sure if that's a new announcement or just sort of a continuation of other conversations. And this is the thing. There's so much happening every week. It's hard to see what's actually new or what's an enhancement sometimes. But the one thing that kind of jumped out at me, which is kind of goes back to something that our friend Chris Huntingford, in a lot of his sessions, he's been banging this drum about Microsoft Purview, and he keeps learn Microsoft Purview. And it looks like now there's definitely more stuff. The Dataverse Microsoft Purview integration is getting more tighter in terms of doing from security aspect of understanding security posture, denying guest access from an enterprise level, masking sensitive data in, column fields and things like that. So a lot of stuff happening around security and Dataverse as well in these release notes, as it should. And just sort of getting more visibility into that, because like I said, Dataverse is the heart and soul, but that's also what is your most biggest asset in most companies? It's your data. And that's where it's being stored. So a lot of interesting stuff there. I know I kind of jumped around on a whole bunch of things, but.
Yeah, but it's hard to kind of see there seems to be no good narrative around what's happening with Dataverse, because it seems to be a lot of small little pieces that don't necessarily follow a structure or it's not a huge one big story around the investments. More, these are the bits and pieces that we see that we're investing in, more than anything really. What stood out to me, and this is just because it's weird, it says standardized security role and system application docs.
Yeah.
Users,
So I think
admins, and non-admins. You don't want me to read it? You think they're going to cut it?
no. Go ahead.
Okay, so users, admins, and non-admins can easily look up Microsoft Dataverse security roles and their respective privileges online in our documentation, or ask Microsoft Copilot in Bing. Such system application users and their security roles are also documented and can be inquired using Copilot in Bing. This reads to me like they're going to update their documentation regarding standardized security roles and system applications. And this is public preview in September, general availability in January. And this has been around forever. Tell me, Mr. Big Docs dude, what is going on?
I think you're reading more to what it really is. So some of the documentation is automatically generated. So a lot of the Power Pages stuff, the deprecation announcements, a lot of this stuff just automatically gets generated into docs. So it just looks like it's kind of a weird thing to have in a release plan, but from what I read, it's just sort of like this will be automatically generated. A lot of the API stuff, for example, if you read to the docs, there's actually not a writer going through writing it. It's actually being regenerated. There's a template, there's a format that's just happening automatically. So again, I think this is just another thing that they're automating some of the documentation because the tools are there. It's not hard to do. So that's how I read it. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm sure my former colleagues in the docs will tell me appropriately if I am wrong, but that's how I see it. So again, Microsoft Docs, there's a team behind it. People are writing it, they're reviewing it, but a lot of the docs that are specific things like, the API, some of these other announcements, some of these things are automatically generated. Just so a little bit of an insider info there. So yeah.
Okay. Makes a bit more sense now. So then maybe it's not documented well now what the different standard user roles are actually.
It might, because it changes probably so much, it might be a bit outdated because no one knows sometimes these features are so small, they miss the documentation loops. So I say, more documents, the better. So all good. And now we have, now there's tools that can go through and monitor and update that. So, but still you need the human in the loop to.
Exactly. So maybe they have a bit of help from a Copilot or an AI feature as well. Something that actually did stand out to me is the enhancement the release note that says build faster with enhancements to the catalog in Power Platform. This was public preview in May, so this is not new, but it says that it's going to be generally available in October. There are a lot of enhancements to Power Platform catalog. So if you are using that, if you're into that, then make sure to dive into all those different enhancements. Things like general availability for Power Apps and Power Automate, ability to choose the solution to install catalog items into, publish the catalog directly from apps and flow screens. So kind of more of the catalog into the designers that we are used to working with instead of the other way around. Improved catalog experience for Canvas Studio. So it seems to be kind of seeping more into the designer space than in the administration space in terms of the catalogs.
Yeah, I haven't done a lot with the catalog, but
me neither. So that's something I need to explore more.
Yeah, me too.
There isn't another section here, Microsoft Power Platform governance and administration. It is so important, or else Chris is going to kill us if we don't talk about it. So we need to dive into that as well. Do you want to talk about the key investment areas?
Into the governance? Yes, it's important.
It is.
I'm just scrolling through.
There's one thing here that is standing out to me. So
yeah, so basically the enhancements, of course, the admin center experience, making that organizational functionalities, more streamlined experience, of course, using Copilot to help you out with a lot of these things, new ALM features, so upgrades to the pipelines, again, to make, like I said before, the whole ALM process is just going to get easier and easier, giving more features. So finally, like I said, 5 years ago in Power Platform Dynamics CRM, there really wasn't much in terms of ALM. Now, every month, there seems to be new ALM features coming through. It's even, having users get environments pretty easily. So you can go in as a new user, get an environment set up. I've done this in training where it's great. I can just set up user accounts and immediately the environments get provisioned as they sign in. It's pretty cool stuff. That's already existing, but that's just getting better. And of course, tying in Power Platform and finance and operations, that's getting tighter as well. Which is good. We're getting, converging, because I've worked on a few projects and I'm not an F&O expert, but trying to get it to talk to F&O tables and back and forth has always been a bit clunky. So if we can get that smoother, more tighter integrated, that's just going to help us building business applications that tie into some of these first party applications. So that's exciting news as well. And of course, security and compliance is always the big thing that continually is always something people are worried about, people are concerned about, and looks like it's getting improved as well by making a lot of these sometimes tenant level features more enterprise level features of limiting access and making sure the right guardrails, safety features are set up within the whole Power Platform.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Very, very important. And this is what stood out to me as well, the finance and operation apps that you can now you can install finance and operations in the same environment as you have your sales and marketing and your Power Apps and your Dataverse. Mm-hmm. It's going to be in the same environment. You're going to be able to follow the same ALM process, and it's going to be available through the app switcher, and it's bringing the two closer together, which makes a lot of sense. And we've been waiting for this for a couple of years, so this is really good. And also something about Purview in here, just because you mentioned it earlier, I wanted to see what that was. Monitor and protect your data with Microsoft Purview. Mm-hmm. So this is public preview in November 17th. Very specific. And is general available in that was public preview in November 17th, 2023. I'm sorry. Yes. This is my mistake. I read that wrong. And it's going to be generally available in October 24th. So this is a long time coming. And some feature updates to the monitor and protect your data with Purview capabilities here. So look into that if you need to. And I think that's kind of the end of the line. At the bottom of the document, sorry.
Yep. We're over an hour now, so
I know.
Longest one yet.
Yep. At the bottom of the document, there is a list of deprecations for Power Platform apps and services. So and it's important to keep up to date on the things that not only the new stuff, but also what's dropping out at the bottom of the bucket. So there are links to the different resources where you can go and catch up on the deprecations. And of course, we need to also mention the release planner, which is a website that you can go to where you can subscribe and kind of choose the different products and features that you want to subscribe to news and updates for, and you can see what's coming and what's already out there to try, and keep up to date about these things, not only when the release waves hit, but between those dates as well.
Yeah, because things can get added and removed.
They most definitely will. And we've seen this a lot of times in the past. These are living documents. And when COVID hit, for instance, we saw a huge rearrangement and in priorities in terms of these news and updates. So keep up to date on the document. So the PDF that you downloaded will be outdated pretty soon. So it's a good idea to go grab a fresh one every time you need to go through it.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. Well, ton of exciting features. I'm excited for what's coming out. It's going to give us a lot to talk about in future episodes for sure.
Absolutely, yes. Let's try to keep tabs on all of these favorite features of ours and see where they land.
And some new ones to try out as well.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, let's dive into the catalog and purview and all of these things. We have homework to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
And we'll release a normal episode at a normal schedule. So that will be next week. So, yeah, just keep up an eye out for that.
Right. All right. Thanks, everybody, for joining in.
Yes. Catch you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. And if you like this episode, please make sure to share it with your friends and colleagues in the community. Make sure to leave a rating and review of your favorite streaming service, and makes it easier for others to find us. Follow us on the social media platforms and make sure you don't miss an episode. Thanks for listening to the Power Platform Boost podcast with your hosts, Ulrika Åkerbeck and Nick Dolman, and see you next time for your timely boost of Power Platform news.